The world still remembers how Kabul collapsed in a matter of hours in 2021. Back then, the Taliban stood atop abandoned American armored vehicles. Now, the same group has issued a shocking warning to the United States. The warning wasn't about a Taliban resurgence, but about Iran. Iran is not Afghanistan, the message read. A statement that sounds simple, but it shook the Pentagon's strategy. Today, we will examine it militarily. Why is Iran considered a far more dangerous threat? What do these former U.S. enemies see that makes them dare to issue statements that seem to warn a superpower? To understand why this Taliban statement is significant, we must look at their current geopolitical position. Since taking power in Afghanistan, the Taliban have technically shared a border with Iran. They are neighbors. They see firsthand what is happening on the border. The Taliban have 20 years of brutal combat experience against the Americans. They are experts in guerrilla warfare, mountainous terrain, and exploiting abandoned weaponry. However, in a statement released through their affiliated media, senior Taliban commanders called what they faced child's play compared to what Iran has prepared. Why? Because Iran has 3 elements that Afghanistan lacks when it comes to fighting the U.S. A national military infrastructure, a missile-based offensive doctrine, and proxy forces spread across 4 countries. In a global military analysis, Iran's threat lies not in the size of its conventional army, which is indeed large, but in the deadly asymmetry it has built over 40 years. Let's examine each one. First, ballistic and hypersonic missiles. Afghanistan does not possess a single ballistic missile. Iran possesses one of the largest ballistic missile arsenals in the region, estimated at over 3,000. The latest, the Fatah-2 hypersonic missile, is claimed to be capable of maneuvering outside the atmosphere at Mach 15. This changes the equation. U.S. military bases in Qatar, the UAE, and Bahrain are all within striking distance of less than 7 minutes. The Taliban never had this capability. They only had RPGs and mortars. Iran has the capability to destroy U.S. logistical infrastructure in the first minutes of a war. Second, the global sweep strategy in the Strait of Hormuz. This is what the Pentagon fears most. Unlike Afghanistan, which is a landlocked country, Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, the route for 20% of the world's oil. It would take an attack on the U.S. mainland to cripple the global economy. With a combination of fast boats, sea mines, and shore-based anti-ship missiles, Iran could block oil routes within 24 hours. The Taliban has no navy. Iran has a special naval force called the Navy of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGCN, trained for asymmetrical warfare at sea. Third, an integrated proxy network. This is the fundamental difference. Afghanistan is an isolated country. Iran is the center of the axis of resistance. If the U.S. attacks Iran, it won't be just one country that reacts. Hezbollah in Lebanon has 150,000 rockets ready to rain down on Israel and U.S. bases in the Mediterranean. The Houthis in Yemen would go wild in the Red Sea. Shia militias in Iraq and Syria would attack U.S. bases simultaneously. The Taliban themselves admit, "We were alone against the U.S. in the mountains." Iran has the entire region as a shield. The Taliban may remind the U.S. of this because they have seen firsthand how U.S. military power has been eroded by prolonged war. But why is the US still so cautious about Iran, even after the escalation of drone attacks on US bases in Jordan? The answer is casualty calculation. In global military analysis, a war against Iran is estimated to result in a far greater number of casualties than the Iraq and Afghanistan wars combined. Iranian ballistic missiles could strike key U.S. bases in the heavily manned Gulf region. Furthermore, there is the factor of electronic warfare and drone technology. Iran is one of the countries with the most advanced drone swarm capabilities in the world. Unlike the Taliban's simple homemade drones, Iran has demonstrated the ability to fly dozens of kamikaze drones, Shahed 136, simultaneously, penetrating modern air defense systems. Furthermore, they have proven capable of spoofing and downing advanced U.S. surveillance drones like the RQ-170 Sentinel. Simply put, the Taliban are fighting using 20th century tactics. Iran is fighting with a combination of hypersonic missiles, 21st century and complex proxy wars. So, when the Taliban, who successfully ousted the US from their country, say that Iran is a far more dangerous threat, it's not mere provocation. It's honest military analysis from those who have faced a superpower head-on. Iran is not Afghanistan. Iran is a country with strategic depth, high-precision weapons, multi-pronged strike capabilities, and the political will to suffer heavy losses to maintain its regime. This warning should serve as a reality check for policymakers in Washington, because if there's one thing we've learned from 20 years of war in the Middle East, it's this: never underestimate an enemy who's not only ready to die, but also ready to destroy you before they die. What do you think of this Taliban statement? Is it a form of ideological solidarity or simply a pragmatic warning to your neighbors? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more global military analysis. See you in the next video.
Thank you.